Hi, this is Tehila, High Priestess of the Coven of the Open Mind, and this is episode 1 of our Intro to Magical Disciplines series. In this episode, we'll be talking about Kabbalah. It's important to note that there's different forms of Kabbalah. It originates from Judaism and from Jewish philosophers and from Jewish thought. So I've actually studied the Jewish form of Kabbalah, not the Hermetic Kabbalah. I think that it's important when you're learning about philosophy to understand the context of the people who originally came up with that philosophy. So for me, I think that it's important to understand Jewish Kabbalah, even if you decide that you prefer some of the intricacies of Hermetic Kabbalah instead, and I'll let you look into that on your own. This is just an overview, high level, what is Kabbalah? So high level, Kabbalah is Jewish mysticism. They say in Judaism that the Torah is what God is and what God wants from humanity, and the Kabbalah describes who God is. So the Kabbalah is like the soul of God. And when they say God, they mean something a little different than the aspects of deity that we use in Wicca. Here, when we say the God or an aspect of gods like Horus or Ares or whoever, we're talking about what is essentially an aspect which is a slightly lower plane of existence than the plane of existence where the Judeo-Christian God rests. Well, we shouldn't really say Judeo-Christian because it's a little different in Christianity. In Christianity, it's a lot more like paganism, and that's a whole nother can of worms. But in Judaism, you have these planes of existence that you also see echoed in metaphysics. And I'm going to try not to get too physical here. I'll do an entire video on metaphysics where we talk about some of the similarities, and it's really cool. But for this video, I want to just, like I said, give a very high-level overview of Kabbalah. Let's start by talking about the planes of existence. On this plane of existence where we all live, this is called, in Hebrew, asiyah, which means action. On this plane of existence, you must act. You can't sit around and do nothing. This is the bane of some folks' existence when they're very exhausted and they love to just do nothing, but they find, even when they're laying in bed, staring at the ceiling, they're still doing something. They're breathing, they're blinking, they're thinking. You can't do nothing. You can't exist for no length of time and be on our plane of existence. That's just not how it works. On Asiyah, this is the plane that represents the elements, the 4 elements, and spirit. Spirit is an element that doubles, so you have spirit active, which is on this plane of existence, and spirit passive, which is on the plane directly above ours. Spirit passive represents death energy, and spirit active, life energy. So in this way, spirit is the bridge between our plane of existence and the one directly above us. In order to have physical form, you have to be made up of the 4 forces, which mimic the 4 fundamental forces from physics. Again, we'll get into the physics in another video so that we don't make this too long. But all you really need to know is that in order to exist in Asiyah, you must have a physical body. And in order to exist on the next plane up, called Yetzirah, you must exist only in spirit. That's what it means when we say that the plane above us consists of spirit, and our plane consists of 4 physical elements and spirit. In Yetzirah, in Judaism, they say that that is the home of the sephirim, or angels, which we would think of in Wicca as being spirits or ancestors. In Judaism, instead of having an underworld, they have a world above earth that's not like heaven at all. It's a place where everyone goes as they wait to reincarnate, as they wait to determine if they need to come back to earth to work on more lessons, or if they're going to, stay in the higher planes of existence permanently, in which case they would normally actually rest on the plane above Yetzirah, which is Bariah. So in order to exist on the planes above us, you can't have physical form. You can only exist on the plane of death, on the plane of the spirits, on the plane of Yetzirah, which means formation in Hebrew. You can only exist there if you're there in spirit only. The plane above Yetzirah is called Beraya, and it means creation. In Jewish Kabbalah, the Yetzirah is the home of the lower Garden of Eden, and Beraya, the upper Garden of Eden. These are not locations somewhere out in space. These all exist right here, right now, and you just can't see them. We'll get into that when we talk about metaphysics, because it can get long. But the short thing to remember about Binah, the third plane up, is that it is the plane from which aspects of deity emanate. So on this plane of existence, you have God divided up into very big fundamental forces, like masculine and feminine, aggression, or nurturing and receptivity. And then you have life and death, which is more obvious what they are. But they also are things like happiness and gain and loss and sorrow, like waxing and waning. So there's kind of this quad form chart that you'll see floating around from some of my other lectures. If you're interested in hearing about this more, definitely head over to the Wicca and Witchcraft 101 series. It's in lecture 1, I cover this. But the short version here is that the aspects of deity exist on this plane of existence called Beraya, and they're distinctly separate from the Jewish God, which is the highest plane, Atzilut. On this plane, which is called Emanation, its name means emanation. On this plane, you find the 10 sephirot. These are, and in singular in Hebrew is sephirot. Now, these are the qualities of God that you most commonly see in the Tree of Life. And they have representations similar to what you might see regarding chakras. I hope you guys can read my writing. If you look at this chart over here, over here, this is a person. You'll see that there are 10 sephirot, 7 go with the body and 3 with the mind. We've already talked about 1, Chokhmah. That is aligned with the crown chakra. It represents your true self, the part of you that has no agenda. And then you have Binah and Dat, which represent understanding and knowledge. You have Malchut. This is often drawn at the bottom of the Tree of Life in Hermetic Kabbalah. In Jewish Kabbalah, it aligns with the throat, and it is essentially the throat chakra. Then you have Gevurah and Chesed, the right hand and the left hand, because your hands are how you act. And you can either act with kindness or judgment. And you're either doing one or the other. But the best thing to do is to strive to act with sephirot, which is the combination when you have just the right amount of kindness and just the right amount of judgment, you get true love. And that aligns with the heart chakra. Notice that there is no stomach chakra here. They don't care about the tummy chakra in Judaism because they don't do any evocation. In Judaism, there's no magic. Everything happens, well, there is magic, but it's not from humans. It's from God. They call it miracles. And they'll align with deity and do work to have a good relationship with deity. And then they'll ask for things via prayers and just trust that the universe will provide for them and what they would like in the way that the universe thinks is best and ultimately what is best for them. So they think deity's on their side, and because they have a good relationship with deity, deity will answer their prayers, and all you have to do to have a good relationship with deity is follow a whole bunch of rules, and it's kind of a lot of things actually. But anyway, so the moral of the story is that they don't care about the stomach chakra because they don't care about their internal source of energy. As long as, and oftentimes they'll fast, and that gets them into a good place to be in an altered state for prayers and that sort of thing. So, so for them, you know, there's a very, most Orthodox Jews have a very healthy relationship with their stomach chakra. It's not something they ever really think about or care too much about. The stomach chakra is the one most commonly used for evocation magic. Next, you have Netzach and Hod. These represent the legs. So you have the hands and the heart. These are your internal emotions because you can only reach so far. In order for you to experience your emotions outwardly, you also have to show it. You have to walk. You have to use your legs. So you have netzach, which is the double for gevura and means victory. And you have hod, which is the double for chesed, and it means splendor or sincerity. So, and then when you use the perfect balance of those two, you have yesod, and yesod is foundation or bonding, and that is the sacral chakra. So that's reproduction. So the ultimate way to give back to the world in Kabbalah is reproduction. Finally, malchut, which often goes at the bottom, but actually aligns with the throat chakra, that represents kingship. Our ability to speak and communicate is what has put us at the top of the food chain. It's what's given us the responsibility to be the most advanced and the most powerful species on this planet. As a result of that, as a result of our ability to speak, we are kings of this realm. That's the way they see it. So humans are in charge, and they're allowed to eat animals and do whatever they like because humans are in charge and God said so. That's how the Jewish people most commonly see it. So these sephirot, originally God created the sephirot. All of them were separate from each other, and they fought to be the most important one. It was a world of chaos. This is what they say in Jewish Kabbalah. This world was terrible, and God knew it himself. So he tore it down and created a new one. But when he destroyed the old one, that caused little shards of evil to fall into the world. So in Judaism, chaos is evil. And for most religions, that is in fact the case. But we'll talk about chaos in another episode, because chaos is awesome. And it's not totally evil. It can be super evil, though. So fair to want to avoid it. But in any case, then these shards of evil are the foundation of the Yetzir Hara, which is the negative inclination. So they say that you have a negative inclination and a positive inclination. You are inherently good, and so you have negative inclination. That's what they say in Judaism. Chaos would then be kind of outside of this whole realm, this whole level of planes of existence, Atzilut, and then the one above that is Ein Sof, which is literally God. It means emanating light, and it is the plane on which there is nothing independent from God. And when we talk about God here in Hebrew, the name for God, and you can't say it, and you can't even spell it out, because, I mean, you could if you'd like to, but I don't, because they don't, and it would be rude to do it to them. So I don't say it. But the name of God actually conjugates to, or translates to, 3 different conjugations of the verb to be. It translates to is, was, and will be all at once. The idea is that God is. And if you put anything after that sentence, you're qualifying him in a way which is impossible and which doesn't make any sense and limits him. And God is. God is everything that exists. God is, period. So if you're contemplating existence, you're contemplating God. It's the same concept. It's what we all have in common. It's what brings us all together. On some fundamental level, we all exist. Now, non-existence is a separate force. We'll talk about that. That's where chaos comes from. Very interesting stuff. For now, I think that's all the important things to keep in mind with Kabbalah. There's a lot more to it. It took me 2 full years of practicing Orthodox Judaism to feel like I really understood Kabbalah. So there's a lot to it. But the moral of the story is that it describes a way in which you can better come to understand God, divinity, deity. You can understand deity not only as aspects like Adam and Eve, Chava and Adam, man and woman, masculine and feminine. Those are aspects of God that exist in Beraya, the upper Garden of Eden. Those are the goddess and God from Wicca. It's all the same thing. And when you start to understand Jewish Kabbalah, you understand how Judaism is really the same thing as paganism. They all fit together. It's just that they value different things. They don't value empowerment. They value wisdom. So the wisdom to say, I have all that I need, and there is nothing else I could possibly ask for. I will receive all that I need, and everything that comes to me, good or bad, I will be grateful for. It is a challenge to overcome, or it is a blessing from God. And that is a very wonderful and beautiful way to see the world. And Jews are wonderful people. I really enjoy spending time with them, and I loved learning with them. So I hope that you have a better sense for what it means to you know, keep Jewish Kabbalah and to understand Jewish Kabbalah. Obviously, this was kind of taken and converted in a bunch of ways into into Hermetic Kabbalah, as we call it. So it's a little different. Hermetic Kabbalah. You'll see differences in charts and that sort of thing online. I like to talk about this first. It's going to set us up for the next couple of videos. So if you have any questions on this one, please drop a comment, shoot us an email, let me know, and we'll address them before you move on. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and from all of us here at the Coven of the Open Mind, blessed be.